There is a specific frustrating moment in every man's life where he feels completely sidelined and out of the loop. It usually happens after a breakup or a period of distance where you're left staring at your phone, wondering where you stand. You might assume she's moved on or simply stopped caring because she hasn't reached out, but the reality is often much more complex. You're feeling confused, not because she's gone cold, but because she's speaking a language you were never taught to decode. As men, we are socially conditioned to value and expect directness. We operate on a simple logic. If a person misses you, they call. If they want to see you, they say it. We look for loud evidence: a long text, a late night phone call, or a direct confession of feelings. When those things don't happen, we conclude that the connection is dead. However, the psychological reality of how women process longing is fundamentally different. For a woman, admitting she misses you directly is rarely her first move, mostly because it feels like a total surrender of her emotional safety. To her, saying, "I miss you," out loud isn't just a statement. It's a massive vulnerability that hands you all the power and leaves her exposed to potential rejection or judgment. To protect herself, she hides her feelings behind a wall of pride and caution. But even though she might keep her lips sealed, she cannot stop her emotions from leaking out into her actions. She begins to communicate through a series of subtle, quiet shifts in her behavior and energy that are designed to test the waters without risking her heart. The painful truth is that she could be longing for you deeply at this very moment. But if you are only looking for those obvious, loud signs, you are going to walk right past the truth every single time. Most men miss the opportunity to reconnect simply because they are waiting for a clear signal that is never going to come. This video isn't just about listing generic signs you can find in a magazine. It's about exposing the specific psychological behavioral fingerprint a woman leaves behind when your absence finally starts to hit her harder than she anticipated. We're going to look at the shifts in her timing, her digital presence, and her emotional rhythm. The quiet breadcrumbs she drops when she realizes that the version of you she once took for granted is the version she's now desperate to have back in her life. The first sign that she misses you isn't going to be a long emotional paragraph text or a dramatic apology. Instead, it's a subtle but undeniable shift in her digital and physical orbit. You have to understand a fundamental rule of female psychology. When a woman is truly indifferent, you cease to exist in her world. She doesn't check your profile. She doesn't ask about you. And she certainly doesn't accidentally show up where you are. But the moment she begins to feel the weight of your absence, she starts to hover. This hovering is a subconscious attempt to bridge the gap without having to commit to a direct conversation. It's her way of keeping a pulse on your life while maintaining enough distance to protect her pride. In our modern world, this behavior almost always starts online. Think about her digital activity. She isn't just passively watching your stories anymore. She is consistently appearing at the very top of your viewers list, often within minutes of you posting. She might start reacting to random older content, photos, or posts from months ago that have no business being liked today. This is what we call digital breadcrumbing. It isn't an accident or a glitch in the algorithm. It is a calculated, often instinctual move to stay present in your mind. By interacting with your past, she is trying to remind you of your shared history without having to say a single word. She wants to see if you'll notice her presence, and more importantly, how you'll respond to it. This hovering also translates into the physical world through a phenomenon called proximity without contact. If you share the same social circles or environments, you'll notice she suddenly starts appearing in your line of sight more often. She doesn't walk up to you and she doesn't try to start a conversation, but she aligns her energy and her physical position so that you are forced to feel her presence. She is essentially putting herself in your orbit to observe you. She's testing the waters to see if the version of you has changed since she last saw you. She's looking to see if you are more grounded, more disciplined, or perhaps more comfortably distant. This sudden surge in curiosity is a direct psychological response to an emotional pull. If she is curious about your growth and your new life, she is still emotionally invested. Her curiosity is her heart whispering the truths that her pride simply refuses to speak. Most men completely overlook the second signal because it is designed to look like nothing more than common politeness or a series of random coincidences. When a woman starts to miss you, she doesn't want to look desperate or like she's chasing you. So, she begins constructing soft openings. These are low risk psychological doorways that she opens just a crack, giving you the opportunity to re engage with her without her having to expose her true feelings. She might send you a message with an accidental question, something she could have easily Googled or asked someone else just to provide a logical excuse for her name to pop up on your screen. Or she might send a completely neutral check in like, "Hope you're doing well." While these might seem like casual gestures, you have to realize that women rarely reach out to men they are genuinely finished with. If she is overriding her ego even slightly to send a simple emoji or a "How have you been?" She isn't just being friendly, she is gauging the temperature to see if the door to your life is still open. Beyond direct communication, she may even begin to use your shared environment and history against you through targeted broadcasting. This happens when she posts a specific song, a cryptic quote, or a throwback photo that she knows will trigger a memory or a response in you. She isn't addressing you by name, but she is communicating through perfect timing. She is essentially throwing out a hook to see if you'll bite. The psychological goal here is to see if you are wise enough to notice the hint without becoming overly reactive, needy, or emotional. She wants to see if you still have that grounded masculine energy that can read between the lines. These soft openings are strategic invitations for you to return to her orbit, allowing her to facilitate a reconnection while maintaining her dignity and never having to admit out loud that she actually needs that connection. This third signal is perhaps the most revealing of all because it is the hardest for her to hide, even when she is trying her best to stay composed. When a woman genuinely begins to miss you, her emotional sensitivity toward you and your actions increases dramatically. She effectively loses her cool where you are concerned. Everything you do, and more importantly, everything you don't do, suddenly carries a massive amount of weight. You need to watch how she reacts to your silence specifically. In the past, or when she was indifferent, she wouldn't have cared if you took 6 hours to respond to a text or if you didn't view her latest update. But now, your silence feels like a heavy, suffocating pressure on her. She becomes hyper aware of the gap you've left behind. She starts noticing the exact moment you stop interacting with her world, and that lack of attention from you begins to sting. This heightened awareness creates a psychological loop where she overanalyzes every interaction you do have. If you give her a calm, short, or professional response, she doesn't just see it as you being busy, she reads deep, hidden meanings into your tone. If she sees you online and thriving, looking happy, disciplined, and completely focused on your own goals without her, it unsettles her. It creates a fear that the door is closing for good. This internal stress often manifests as the classic mixed signals that drive men crazy. One day, she might be strangely cold and distant, and the next, she's unexpectedly warm and engaging. You have to understand that this isn't her playing a game or trying to be manipulative. It is a genuine internal battle. She is caught in a tug-of war between her intense urge to move closer to you and her terrifying fear of being hurt or rejected if she shows too much. This emotional turbulence is actually the ultimate proof of her reattachment. Indifference is consistent. If a woman truly didn't care or miss you, her energy towards you would be flat, predictable, and calm. She wouldn't have the energy to be hot and cold. The fact that she is reacting to the subtle shifts in your timing, your tone, or your absence proves that you still have a powerful grip on her emotional state. Only a woman who is struggling with the weight of missing you will be this affected by the energy you project into the world. To truly master this dynamic, you have to understand the why behind her behavior. As men, we often feel frustrated and ask ourselves, if she misses me, why doesn't she just say it? But for a woman, saying those three words, "I miss you," is a massive psychological risk that she isn't always willing to take. You have to realize that directness in her mind is a form of total surrender. By admitting she misses you, she is lowering every one of her emotional defenses and handing you the power to either accept her or reject her. Most women would rather stay silent than face the possibility of feeling small or needy in your eyes. This is why silence isn't just a lack of communication, it is actually her strongest shield. It allows her to feel the longing while keeping her heart protected behind a wall of plausible deniability. Beyond just being a shield, her silence is also a high level test of your masculine strength and emotional maturity. She wants to see what kind of man you are when you aren't being given a clear map. If you are a man who constantly needs reassurance, you will panic in her silence. You'll double text, you'll ask what's wrong, and you'll chase her until you've completely lost your value. But if you are grounded, you can lead through the subtlety without losing your cool. A woman doesn't want to be begged for. She wants to feel wanted by a man who is perceptive enough to recognize her value without being told to. She is looking for a specific type of emotional reciprocity where you can read the room and see through the surface. This is the fundamental language of the feminine. It is intuitive, layered, and rarely literal. When she sends these silent signals, she is essentially holding up a mirror to your awareness. She wants to know if you are the kind of man who can see the truth she is trying to hide beneath the surface of her pride. Her silence isn't a sign of distance or a sign that she's done with you. It is an active test of your presence. She is waiting to see if you have the awareness to recognize the shift in the air and the self respect to handle it with dignity. In this world, the man who can hear what is unsaid is the man who stays in control of the connection. The real power of recognizing these silent signals isn't just about gaining a cheat code to know if she wants you back. It's about the fundamental transformation you undergo as a man. When you develop the ability to read the unsaid, you stop being a passenger in your own emotional life. You no longer find yourself in that frantic, reactive state where you're constantly checking your phone or overanalyzing every word for a hint of hope. You stop the cycle of over explaining your feelings, over pursuing a woman who hasn't asked to be chased, and most importantly, you stop chasing confusion. Instead of being lost in a fog of maybe, you start to see the psychological reality of the situation for exactly what it is. This clarity allows you to step out of the waiting room of life and back into your own lane of purpose and progress. By mastering this awareness, you become a man who is deeply rooted in his own value. You stop looking for a woman to provide you with a clear verbal map of her feelings because you trust your own ability to observe her behavior. You realize a profound truth. If a woman genuinely feels an emotional pull toward you, that feeling will leak out into her actions, even if it's through the quietest shift in her timing or her energy. This realization is your ultimate protection. It guards your time, your mental energy, and your self respect from being wasted on someone who isn't actually moving towards you. You no longer have to beg for a sign because you know that the truth is always visible to those who are calm enough to see it. Ironically, it is this exact emotional stability, this refusal to be shaken by silence that makes you infinitely more attractive to her. There is a primal magnetic quality to a man who can understand the room without needing to be told what's happening. When a woman realizes that her silence doesn't make you panic and that your value isn't dependent on her validation, it creates a powerful shift in her attraction toward you. She feels the strength in your presence because you aren't a man who is easily manipulated by hot and cold behavior. By choosing to be the observer rather than the pursuer, you reclaim your power, stand in your own truth, and naturally draw the right people back into your orbit on your terms.